Good morning. My presentation this morning is the menopause effect, understanding its impact on relationships and divorce. And specifically, we'll address two questions. Firstly, to the women, non-binary, trans people out there who are now contemplating divorce and their partners, my question is this: could this be your hormones that are the problem rather than your relationship? And secondly, to the divorce team, my question is: do you sufficiently understand menopause enough to be fully attuned to your clients' needs and to be able to meet them to the best of your ability? So the aims for this presentation are to understand how menopause affects relationships, specifically intimacy and communication, recognize how a woman suffering with menopausal symptoms can be impacted both during the process of divorce and in the financial settlement, and perhaps most importantly, how best we can support menopausal women. So who am I? Well, Sally Jackson, a proud professional divorce coach with the Divorce Coaching Academy, a previous menopause nurse specialist, and a divorcee who, after a long relationship in which menopause was definitely a factor. So why divorce and menopause? Why the focus? Well, 60% of divorces are initiated by women in menopausal years. And I think the study by the Family Law Project and Newson Health Research and Education Project, showing that 730 out of 1,000 women blamed their menopause for the breakdown of their marriage, just really shows how significant this is. And that the chances are that at the point at which a woman is going through a relationship breakdown or divorce proceedings, she may well be on her menopause journey too. So what is the menopause? Well, it is a point 1 year exactly after your last menstrual period, usually average around the age of 51, but somewhere between 45 and 55. But actually, I think the thing that's most important to focus on is the perimenopause, which can last between 2 and 15 years, meaning that we should be thinking that hormones could be part of the problem from anywhere after the age of 35. So I want you just to take a look at this slide, if you're a woman, and just have a think about whether or not you can recognize any of those symptoms. Perhaps you're in the perimenopause, maybe you actually went through your menopause some time ago. I have friends who tell me that they were in the top 25% of people who say they have little or no impact, who actually, when they look at this list, go, oh, actually, yeah, I did have a few of those. But 25% of people will see menopause as being a new opportunity, a new chapter in their life, an exciting time, and will have minimal impact from their symptoms. A further 25% will be severely impacted. They will have between 4 and 6 symptoms that severely impact their life to the point where they actually contemplate giving up their work. And 10% of those women will actually give up their job. And this is really important because I think what we don't often give enough focus to is the fact that these symptoms creep up on us. They are insidious, and they're also pervasive in that very often one links with another. So, for example, if you have aching joints, and then when you finally get to sleep, you're woken up again by a hot flush a couple of hours later, and then in the morning find that you've actually got, brain fog. Is it any wonder that your mood starts to become affected and you start to feel really low? So what tends to happen with women is the major thing is that they lose their confidence. They become anxious, and quite often they will have significant cognitive problems. There are two main areas of relationship breakdown: intimacy and communication. This won't come as any surprise to any divorce lawyers who've done statements around unreasonable behavior. But basically what happens is we have a loss of physical intimacy, which causes guilt for one partner and the other partner potentially to feel rejected. That then results in arguments and a breakdown in communication and then relationship breakdown. So if we think about this in terms of loss of physical intimacy, 75% of women consider that menopause adversely affects their sex lives. Louise Newson in her clinic, who is a GP who really leads menopause care in the UK, she found that 8 out of 10 women who came to her clinic had not had sex with their partner for the last 2 years. If we believe that that intimacy is the glue that holds a relationship together, then you can very quickly see, looking at this slide, how easy it is to blame menopause, to blame your relationship when in fact it could be your hormones. And breakdown in communication. We're all busy. We have patterns of communication. It's very easy to talk about the children and to not talk about what's happening with ourselves. And that inability to find out what your partner is experiencing and feeling, and to give them that space can be very easily understood. And then just to toss a bit more in there, we also are often carers, caring for teenage children and or elderly parents. And if you look at that list of the menopause being seen as being lonely, invisible, irrelevant, dispensable, that is actually from the Invisibility Report, which was asking women what their experience of menopause was. Combine that with being a carer and also going through divorce, and you can see just how vulnerable these women are and how important it is that we actually give them the confidence to get through this. There are additional challenges, which could include the fact that some women don't know they're perimenopausal. Best example I can give you of this is actually Dr. Louise Newson, who was perimenopausal for 6 months before her daughter finally screamed at her one day, "Do you need to have a period?" And then she realized that she was actually perimenopausal. Doctors themselves may not recognize what's happening. We have a generation of doctors who've had no training in the menopause whatsoever. We also have a piece of research that was done 20 years ago that linked HRT to breast cancer, which has been totally invalidated, but still hangs around in people's memories and often will mean that doctors will not treat menopause effectively. And then in addition, women themselves can't get the menopause care they need. For example, in the whole of Devon, there isn't an NHS menopause clinic. So 1 in 4 women actually need to go to private clinics to get their menopause help, which means that women getting divorced may not be getting the support they need, both for their menopause and also the support they need to build their resilience. And that is where a coach can be really helpful. And finally, the divorce team themselves may not ask, and I'll come back to that. So we need to help women to assess and make informed, not emotional decisions about whether or not they want to get divorced, and to meet their needs and make reasonable adjustments. So I'm now going to look at this in terms of the woman and also the divorce professional. So women, keep a diary of all your symptoms, and I mean a really detailed diary for a month. We want to know everything about not just what symptoms you're experiencing, but the impact it's having on your ability to work, to your ability to at home, on your day-to-day function, on your ability to care for yourself, and alongside that, to monitor your self-care. And then for divorce professionals, I want to raise the point that we don't ask, and 97% of lawyers were found not to ask in the Menopause Law Project. So we need to make it easy and we need to make it routine. I understand that it might be embarrassing. You might not feel you have the knowledge to ask, but actually we've seen just how much of an impact this can have. And we need people to ask and make it routine. And my suggestion is we do it by saying, we ask all clients over the age of 35 if they think that this might be related in any way to the menopause. And to do that, we actually ask them to complete this climacteric questionnaire, which basically is a questionnaire that can be found at Menopause Matters, which looks at what the symptom is and how severe it is. And then we could just ask women to feed back to us if they felt that actually menopause might be an issue. For women, in terms of advice, my biggest advice would be to talk. Talk to your partner about what you're experiencing, what you're feeling, and also how this is impacting you at work, at home, how they can help you. Think about what you've tried, explore it together, what the options are. Make informed choices about treatment. There are some excellent podcasts. I would highly recommend Dr. Newson's podcast. You really need to look into this in detail. I think a lot of people say, you know, HRT isn't for me. Just make sure you've really, really looked into it before you say that, because it can make a significant difference to your being able to do your self-care. Find ways to build your resilience. When you have lower estrogen, your emotions are all over the place. You need to find ways to process that emotions, whether that's going for a run, which I know can be difficult if your joints are aching, or doing meditation or journaling, or just actually, you know, screaming into a pillow. Just find ways to deal with your emotions, build your resilience. And again, this is where a coach can really, really help. And similarly, focusing on your boundaries. Now more than ever, it's really important to think about what are you saying yes and no to, and to make sure that they are the things that, you know, are the things that are really important to enabling you to look after yourself at this very difficult time. And don't rush into divorce. And my advice for divorce professionals is question whether divorce is the right choice, and try to signpost other options. So, for example, signpost to HRT and other treatments. And I should say alternative therapies such as acupuncture can be brilliant. Think about couples clarity coaching. I'm not going to say any more about that because Sue is going to talk about that, but I think that this may well be a very useful tool. Sex therapy. If you've had a relationship where you've primarily focused on sex rather than intimacy, actually looking at new ways to introduce intimacy that are, you know, that you're comfortable with might actually be really helpful. And couples therapy. And finally, if you've been in a relationship a long time, perhaps think about a trial separation where you take some time to just focus on you, if at the end of the day you decide that you want to divorce, then really, you know, make sure that you have looked at all these things first. So adjustment. Well, you need to, as a woman, to build your support network. I'm not going to say very much more than that, other than some friends will support you and some friends will actually be people who you maybe don't want to spend as much time with. And again, working with a divorce coach can be really helpful here. I want to draw your attention particularly to building your divorce team. Farhana Shahzadi clearly has written about this, and she says that due to a lack of understanding, we may be engaging with divorce professionals who are not attuned to women's needs. Many divorcing women are currently left financially disadvantaged as they approach retirement. And women seriously impacted by menopause need a divorce team who understand that menopause may have a direct impact on their employment, their earning capacity, and or income needs following divorce. So you need someone who really understands this. Pace yourself. If you try and do your Form E when you are feeling rubbish, it will be so difficult. So get yourself into the best possible state and then perhaps just do it for half an hour. And also ask your lawyer to help you. Ask for help. Celebrate all your wins, however small, and plan for the future. And for divorce professionals, we need to realize these clients are likely to be much more vulnerable. They will struggle to remember the facts. If you sit with them and give them 20 minutes of information, they're highly likely not to remember very much. Think about sending them hostile, unfiltered correspondence. Their emotions are all over the place, far more than most clients. and they really are going to struggle with that. They're also going to find completing lengthy forms difficult. And one of the first signs at work for a woman who is struggling at work is actually that they start to be late for meetings and forget meetings. So deadlines will be a particular issue, and they will struggle to talk about finances. And finally, I just want to mention court. These clients are likely to be really vulnerable witnesses when cross-examined. As I've said, low estrogen gives you poor emotional control. So your clients need to have their court bundle in advance. They definitely need help to prepare for court. They need to actually practice asking questions. They need to get sort of comfortable with the idea that because they've got a poor memory, because they're not going to be able to remember things, they are going to take longer to respond. And when they can't answer, it's very easy for them to become anxious, confused. So they're actually going to need to practice with that court bundle, finding the information, practice asking the questions, and they are going to need really extensive preparation. And again, this is where a divorce coach can be particularly helpful. So in summary, midwife women face huge challenges. Menopause can be insidious, pervasive, easy to miss. We really have a responsibility to find out if menopause may be a factor. Women themselves and divorce professionals need to appreciate the reality of menopause and its impact so that we can be better equipped to support clients who are profoundly affected. So my question is, what action will you take as a result of listening to this presentation? And here's a list of helpful resources. And this is how you contact me. And now I'll take questions. Thank you.